Hello everyone, this is Heroes Trivia, and welcome to the first match of Round 1 Group Play, as Subscriber Game Season 3 officially kicks off today with 5 matches from Group A. Now before we dive into the game, I just want to remind everyone of the 5 players in Group A, who are Electric Experience, Odin Wrath, Shogun Met, Sleeping Phoenix, and Woby Deed. Aside from Woby Deed, who was the runner-up in both our Season 1 and Season 2 tournament, everyone else in this group are first-time contestants. So some might say this is Woby Deed's group to lose, but experience alone does not guarantee victory, for that must be earned on the fields of battle. So let's kick things off with Match 1 between Woby Deed on the green side versus Odin Wrath in the red. And as we're loading to game here, let's just take a quick look at what generals each player selected. Starting with Woby Deed in the green, we have Xu Huang, Wu Tugu, and Gongdu. These 3 are all very powerful generals, capable of dealing out massive damages, not much support, so he'll be relying on their damage to kind of carry the day. The units are really nice too. Fair balance of frontline units, anti-cavalry options, javelin's really good against generals as well. 4 units of shot cavalry, 1 Qingzhou assault infantry, and also 4 horseback huntsmen, which are really cheap options for a little bit of fire arrow perhaps to hurt morale. They're not much of a cavalry unit to speak of because their charge damage and also their melee damage are really weak. Then looking at Odin Wrath, we have Cao Cao, Xu Huang, and Lady Zhurong. So we have Xu Huang on both sides. Now, Lady Zhurong here is interesting because she's played without Meng Huo, her husband, so they don't get the power of love resistance, but she still has the flaming mace, which makes things interesting, and she's also brought for a little bit of fire support with those follower of the flame, and 2 tiger units, which are hard to control but can be very disruptive. There's also a good amount of ranged cavalry as well as shot cavalry for Odin Wrath, even though they are less in quantity. They make up for it in quality, and then we have 4 saber infantry as sort of the front line, which is nice, but they're not very good against cavalry. There's a severe lack of anti-cav on Odin Wrath's side, and we'll see in the match if that comes back to hurt him. So let's hop into game here. And looking at the deployment here for both sides, very aggressive. They're both pressed up at the tip of their deployment zone, but no one is pulling any shenanigans like deploying behind or using vanguard deployment or trying to spread their army out in a weird way. There are the shot cavalry kind of hiding in the forest, I think, or actually, I don't think they're hiding. Oh, they are. They're kind of hiding in these trees here. You got a splash of the ranged cavalry and the front line right here with the Qingzhou assault infantry assisting the generals. I think they're going to be there to kind of muck things up if the generals all become dismounted. Basically having more models around to trigger those attack animations will slow down the enemy attack rate, so that's actually quite smart. Once again, these javelin spear guards are very powerful. They can go into turtle. As they move, they can throw these 3 javelins, which hurts a lot of armor piercing damage. Good against killing generals. For Odin Wrath side, we see a pretty balanced spread as well. 2 tiger units, the cavalry in the rear. The front line here of saber infantry might run into some problems just because they don't have a lot of good anti-large stats. The cavalry is going to do a good number on them, but they should do fairly well in infantry versus infantry fighting because they have very high evasion, and the follower of the flame will also assist them in that with their mace, which takes out enemy evasion as well. So if it had been a very heavy infantry versus infantry fight, especially with these Nanman infantry, they can burn them and do extra damage. Things will get very interesting. In terms of general versus general fighting, Cao Cao is the weakest link here in terms of damage, since we do have 3 very aggressive and strong generals on this side. Xu Huang on both sides, picked for his Unbreakable ability, for his Flame of the Phoenix combo with Roar of the Beast. Very interesting combination for Vanguard abilities on a Sentinel. That's why both sides are fielding him. And we'll see how this plays out. Lady Zhurong's abilities are going to be much weaker. She does have a dagger. This needs to hit to have an impact. Rending Strike is okay, but not strong enough to carry the day. Also not kind of a smash ability. Very different from Flame of the Phoenix. And then we have Defiant Cry, which is a morale hit, but there's a 121 second cooldown versus, say, 60 second here for 18 points. But those 2 things can stack. They're different abilities. And with Cao Cao, we do have the option of using Impervious Presence to kind of reduce cooldowns, and we can have these up much more often. So let's see how this plays out. And Odin Wrath has taken the aggressive approach of marching through the forest, which is going to be interesting since these cavalry are really there to light up the forest with fire arrows and deal morale damage. Fire doesn't deal that much actual damage in the game. You don't just stand there and get burned. If you do that, of course, it will do quite a bit of damage. But just marching through it doesn't really hurt you, but having a fire near you is worth 10 points of morale hits. And these tigers, the problem with them is they are disruptive, but you can't control the actual tigers, and they are quite fragile. So once you release them, it's really up to the AI in terms of who they attack and what they do. Getting picked off a little here. Are they going to release the tigers? Still has... Oh, there we go. Here goes the tigers. The generals come out to fight each other. Interesting. Very aggressive. And the cavalry is there to swarm. Didn't really land the charge on anyone. The tigers harassing the front line. Disruptive, but not going to do a lot of damage. So despite coming in with a clean charge, Cao Cao took a bit of poke and Lady Zhurong took a bit of poke. Having the mace helps in dueling, but if you're just fighting on the field, not so much. You got a big flank coming in from behind. Although I'm not sure if flank was necessary, because there's really no anti-cavalry options on this side. The spears are going to hold fine, kiting away. Really should just ignore horseback huntsmen. They're not going to do much damage. Most of the damage is base, and there's, you know, with 4 units you get basically 1 archer worth of units. So abandoning his infantry and letting these 3 generals do a number on them might not be a good idea. They're getting stalled, the tigers being released, roars are getting stacked. Yes, you are taking out horseback huntsmen, but they're not really valuable. Alright, Qingzhou Assault Infantry getting charged is a good idea. This is actually a melee unit, not a spear unit, so charging it with cavalry is smart. But staying in an extended fight with Qingzhou unit is not smart because they do have that undying presence, or undying vow. And, oh, misplaced devotion. Undying vow is Zhou Tai's ability, which did get fixed and changed for this mod, so it is actually usable. We don't have any aggressive dismount yet, but a lot of ability spam, and getting swarmed here 3v1 is Odin Wrath is Xu Huang. Oh, we got the dismount. Now we're speaking. As you can see, the attack animation goes much faster when they're on foot. Now these Follower of the Flame can reduce the enemy evasion if they do get a couple hits in. As you can see here, dropped to 0. Didn't touch Xu Huang, but also got Gongdu there. Didn't take advantage of it. They're pulling back, and as you can see, Cao Cao has already fallen. Generals get kills really fast when they're on foot. So poor Cao Cao got killed. They are dealing with the flames. Odin Wrath is kind of super distracted by these horseback huntsmen. They should just ignore them. They would not have done much damage. The infantry superiority against the Neman infantry once they did collide is pretty apparent. More evasion on the saber infantry and the fire on top against the Neman units. So Odin Wrath infantry is going to win out. Let's see if he can swarm these cavalry. But even if he can, it's going to be difficult to kill them if they get pulled back. But they're not getting micro right now. There is a spread on this side. The cavalry is what Wobi has left. But he does have a general advantage, and not a small one either. Cao Cao is gone. I don't know why Xu Huang is trying to mount, right? That's why he hasn't run together. And they're here to kill Lady Zhurong, who you want to fight kind of on horse, because you want to charge her. You don't want to stay there and get damaged by her mace, which hurts a lot. Ability spam, killing infantry. And these cavalry are bouncing back. They're good quality cavalry, and Xu Huang's not fighting with Lady Zhurong. She did Die right there. Yep. And these Horseback Huntsmen comes back just to harass. As you can see, they don't have many kills, right? 6, 2, 3, 13. 30 units each on large unit size, 4 of them is 120. Think of them as one group of archers that are really mobile. You don't really need to deal with them. And now these 3 generals will make quick work of these infantry. They will last a while because they're unbreakable, but not much else can be done. Xu Huang comes back, 1v3. Yeah, things look grim. Despite losing all their infantry, Will Be Deed is way ahead here. And these cavalries can kind of charge Xu Huang. He does have... Oh, we do have a surrender. He could have fought on, but all was lost. The infantry matchup went as the unit should have gone. Saber infantry plus flame plus tiger disrupting. Definitely should have won against those Nema infantry, and that's what happened. The cavalry was spread out. They were really good at attracting enemy attention, the Horseback Huntsmen, but they're really not high in terms of priority, should have been ignored. The infantry would have won even if they were shot the whole time. Saber infantry has a decent shield, so if the generals stayed together, fought with the infantry advantage against the enemy generals, things would have been fine. Will Be Deed's Lancer cavalry weren't really used. They were spread around. They never charged the enemy infantry. They probably could have and assisted that front line of the javelins, and maybe they would have done a lot better, but the result is the same. So let's hop to endgame here and see how the units actually did. So that was a victory for Will Be Deed. It went 5 minutes 53 seconds, very fast. There was a surrender, but it was hopeless, so that was fine, even though Xu Huang was unbreakable and could probably last a little bit longer. He would have been chased down because the enemy had all 4 of the cavalry. Like I said, these cavalries weren't really used. The kill count on these aren't very impressive, but they are very tanky and good quality. The Qingzhou unit sort of got charged from behind and got wiped early on. The javelin units did a little bit of damage, I'm guessing mostly from throwing that first 1 or 2 wave of javelin before they got swarmed by higher quality infantry, and that was it for them. Those Horseback Huntsmen got super high value for just being a distraction, forcing the enemy to kind of spread their general around to take care of them. It's annoying to see your troop get shot by arrows, but that's okay. If the enemy are using, especially cavalry range units, it's just not going to amount to much damage because there's only 30 of them each, so you can think of them doing 1/4 the damage a typical archer infantry would, and since they're mobile, it's super hard to chase down, something that really should be just ignored, and keeping your general together is almost always a great idea, as it was sort of a 2v3 fight where Cao Cao got killed, and after that it was sort of 1v3 as Lady Jerome gets picked off as well. The Tigers did okay. I think they're still hard to justify for their cost because you can't really control the Tigers themselves. The Follower of the Flames did very good, and the infantry kind of carried the day until they got squashed by the generals, who did massive damage as expected from the draft. So overall, pretty good game. I think there was definitely some decision-making differences between the 2 players due to experience, and we look forward to future match of these players as we are doing a group stage round robin. So it's not over, 3 more games for each, and we'll see you all in the next matchup. Until then, bye!